blah, blah, blah. Beep, beep, beep. Da-ba-da-ba-da. Remember when Comic Sans was the only problem we had with type? Those were the good old days. And then the world of fonts opened up and all hell broke loose. We thought we could download everything and stick it everywhere, and life got complicated. So let's simplify things. Today I have 5 simple tips for you. 5 do's and don'ts of typography. Do use font weights and styles to your advantage. If you're buying a well-made font family, you have so many different styles and options to choose from. There are a dozen ways to format and style your type before you even need to think about buying another typeface. Not only is it easier to manage, but using different styles of the same font family keeps all of your graphics looking super consistent without being boring. It encourages you to get creative and see all the potential in your fonts. Do manage your sizes and proportions and pay attention to X height. Type gets fun when you start combining different typefaces, but each typeface comes with its own proportions. A 12-point calligraphy font might look significantly smaller than a 12-point sans serif font. I always keep an eye out for X height and I try to match it whenever possible. So what's X height? It's the height of the lowercase letters in a font, or the height of a lowercase x. That's where the name comes from. It's the most prominent measurement that your eye can pick up. So, if you have a short script next to a tall sans serif, bump up the font size of your script until the X height looks the same. Suddenly, everything looks a little more readable and proportionate. Do kern and letter space. Most high-end fonts don't need a ton of letter spacing and kerning help, but there are always times when you want to take a second look. If you're formatting big blocks of text like large paragraphs, don't even worry about this. It's not worth your time. But if you're working with headlines and titles or font that's formatted really large, you do want to take a second look to make sure that everything looks good. Quick lesson. Letter spacing is the measure of space between all the letters in a line or a block of text. Kerning is the individual manipulation of space between 2 individual letters. For instance, this totes awesome graphic is actually totes awful until we do some custom kerning. Use your eye here and focus on what looks good. No need to get crazy, busting out rulers or formulas. Just use your optics. Using all caps is also all the rage now, but without letter spacing added in, type looks like it's screaming at you, and you don't want to scream at your customers or clients. Adding in some space tones down this whole line and brings it from scary to lovely. Now, there is a time when you should not letter space. If you are working with a script or a calligraphy font, please, please, please do not add any extra spacing to those letters. Each letter is designed with a swash that's meant to connect it to the letter that comes after it. Adding in extra letter spacing breaks down the structure of the font entirely so that its design no longer makes sense. You can kern scripts where necessary. Sometimes those little swashes don't entirely connect, so you want to make sure that they do and go in and squish those letters together. Don't overuse your cool fonts. Sometimes people tell me that they don't like a font because it's too boring. To which I say, fonts need to be functional before they can be fun. I love me a good fancy monoline script font once in a while, but there's a time and a place, okay? Your cool fonts, whether it's a brush script or a calligraphy script or something handwritten, they can be really hard to read. This is really hard on your readers. Be nice to them. Make your content easier to read. Even if you're using your cool fonts on smaller blocks of text, consider reining it in even more. Are you using your fonts wherever it fits, or are you using them strategically to call out a special announcement, a sale, or something really fun? Mull on that and think about using your cool fonts with a little more purpose, and give your boring fonts some credit, okay? Don't use a billion typefaces. Narrow it down. If you feel like you absolutely need more typefaces to work with, ask yourself why. It's possible that the typefaces you chose don't have enough style options to work with, or they were poorly made and they just leave you wanting more. If that's the case, consider trading in 2 of your poorly made fonts for 1 great, well-made one. Okay, are we feeling better about this font situation? Remember, don't use Comic Sans and just follow the 5 guidelines we talked about. You're good. Bye, guys.